Assalamu alaikum. Today we check some examples of verbs. So in these examples here it says سافرت إلى دمشق. This sentence means I traveled to Damascus. So notice here I highlighted the past tense verb. So all these verbs here are in the past tense. So سافر, he traveled. نجحت في الامتحان, I succeeded in the exam. نجح, he succeeded. فاز سعيد على أقرانه. فاز سعيد على أقرانه. فاز, he won, like when you win a game, over his peers, أقرانه. So سعيد won over his peers. فاز. فهم زهير المسألة. زهير understood the question. فهم understood. بلغت المجد باجتهادي. I reached glory with my hard work. بلغ, he reached. سلكتن سبيل الصواب. سلك, he followed a path. سبيل is a way of righteousness. So سلك, سلكتن, you feminine, plural. So a feminine plural will take this pronoun, to-an. We are not discussing this now, just a quick look at it so you understand what's going on with these words. So these are the past tense verb. You can see here highlighted. And here I put these pronouns. We will cover pronouns later, but this is just to give you an idea how they look. This just ta here, I'm covering this ta here. This ta, it's called the subject pronoun, and it's always with the past tense. So notice here, you see the ta. You see the ta here, there, and here. So to is for I, سافرت. The safara, he traveled, now becomes I traveled with this pronoun to. Ila, this is a meaning letter, means to. Dimashq is Damascus. So this is to. سافرت إلى دمشق. نجحت في, in, this is in, في, الامتحان. فاز سعيد على, this means on, or in this context, over. If you want to get the meaning in English, it would be over. I think it will be closer. Over his peers. So this is just a quick look about how the pronouns look. The to is I, سافرت. Ta is you, singular, masculine. So if you're talking to a boy or a man, you add سافرت. If you say سافرت, you mean you traveled. Talking to a singular masculine, سافرت. T is for a singular feminine. So if you say سافرتي, T, that means you traveled. If you are talking to a girl or a woman, T. So to, ta, T. Now, if you take this to here and you add M to it, a silent M or a quiet M, no movement on it. So tum, that will mean second person plural, masculine. Tum, M for masculine. Tun is for feminine. So tun, سلكتن. Notice here سلكتن. So tun here is for the second person, feminine plural, tun. Tum, tun. So this is just to give you an idea. As I said, we will go over this more later. But these are the pronouns that indicate the subject pronoun, meaning the doer of this action. So سافرت, I traveled, because of this to here means I. نجحت, you see this نجحت here. This here is for the second person singular. You succeeded in the exam. That's a singular, second person singular masculine. فاز, this here, if there is no pronoun attached to the past tense, it means it's by default a third person singular masculine. So فاز. Any word here without any pronouns attached to it, any verb in here in the past tense, if no pronouns attached to it, that indicates the third person singular masculine. So he won, or he succeeded, or he traveled. فهم, same thing, no pronouns attached, so it's third person singular masculine. بلغت, بلغ is the verb, to here is I reached. سلكتن, this tunna here is the second person plural feminine. سلكتن. So these here are the prepositions to, in, on. So these will become important to give you clues. If you look at the text, you can distinguish the nouns from the verbs just by knowing what these are. Since these here, they will only be followed by nouns. Without knowing what the meaning of these here, you will know these must be nouns because of these prepositions here. There is other marks we will cover as we go, but will give you an idea how useful these marks are for you when you analyze a text. So these are verbs in the past tense. Here, an example of the present tense verb. Notice here, these are the present tense letters. This a here, sometimes it's u, but it's always listed as the one letter, the a. An, ya, and ta. So the mnemonics for this is anaitu, anaitu. You can remember one word will include the 4 present tense letter. So this a here, or as I said sometimes u, is used for I with the present tense in the front of the verb. So you will see it at the front of the verb. You will know it's a present tense, but it also indicates the doer. That's why they change for the present tense. This an here means we. This is a for masculine and feminine, an for masculine and feminine, we. The ya is for the third person, ya. But these here they're not called pronoun, they're called present tense letters. This ta here is used with the second person and the third person singular feminine. So now these here are the letters written separately, but this how they would look. This a will look the same, but this an here you will see it look like this when it's attached to the present tense verb, the front of the present tense verb. This ya will look like this, and this ta will look like this at the beginning of the verb. So here you say يثابرون على الدرس. يثابرون على الدرس, they persist or they persevere, working on the lesson. Working hard and persist. I think that's a good meaning for it. يثابرون. نعمل. Notice the ya here for the present tense. This here is the verb, but with the ya it becomes the present tense. نعمل here is we work. Because of this an here, that's the present tense letter, and it's used with we. نعمل. So نعمل على إحياء الأمة. So this an here you also will see it alone by itself, indicating we. But as I said, just make sure, think of these as present tense letter, not pronouns, at the beginning of a verb, present tense verb. So here أحب, or نعمل على إحياء الأمة, we work hard on giving life to the nation or country, however you want to think of it. So that's the meaning of this sentence. So we work. أحب كل مجتهد, I like every hard working person. So أحب should have an u here, this a here. You notice that's the present tense. This here is stressed, so you have 2 letters there even though you only see these 2 here. But the stress means there is 2 ba here. Ba. أحب, I like. Here's تشتغل. Notice here this is the ta for the present tense verb. and if there is no pronouns attached to the end of the verb, it indicates the second person singular masculine and the third person singular feminine. So here, because they use the feminine noun, so تشتغل فاطمة. Fatima works or is occupy herself with the useful lesson. So تشتغل فاطمة بالدرس النافع. So just that's why you should think of these as present tense, not pronouns. Notice here, because of the sta here, it's used as a present tense, but it's used with two. The second person singular masculine and the third person singular feminine. Here is أقضي. Notice this and o. I said you can see it either way. So أقضي, I spend. أقضي أوقاتي في المطالعة. I spend my time in reading. So أقضي. This here, I spend my times. أكره كل منافق. I hate every hypocrite. So أكره. Notice this present tense letter. So in the last lesson we discussed the verbs, and in here we got some examples of how they would look. So this is the present tense. So here, an example for the future. In the last lesson we covered the command form as an example of a future verb that indicates the future. So we use the command. In these examples we have these here as a command. So here تصدقوا, give charity. This ta here is not the present tense, but we will talk about this later. This is part of the verb here. So here we will see some examples of the future verb or the verb that indicates the future. Last time we talked about the command form. You see it, an example of it here in these two examples. تصدقوا, give charity. وأعينوا, help in beneficial projects. تكونوا, you will be. So there are more details about how to indicate the future, but this is too much for this level of discussion now. We will talk about this later. But this here is an example of a command in here. This here is a present tense, but also in the context indicate it's for the future. As I said, this is too much detail, we will not cover now. But notice here, these are verb present tense that indicate the future with the help of tools. So this here indicates the future because of the sa here. You see the sa means will. So أكون, I am being, I will be. So by adding the sa here, it means will be. So سأكون, أكون is being, I am being. An example for the hard workers. But if I add the sa here, this indicates I will be in the future. So the present tense here, notice, stayed the same. I just added the sa to it, which means will. Here, سوف, same thing, means will, سوف. So you could see a sa like this, سأكون, or سوف. أبلغ, I will reach. أبلغ, this is the present tense, but it was preceded by the سوف here, which indicates that this will be in the future. So this is will, سوف, sa, will. Now لن here, you can see it before a present tense. لن أفتخر, I will not take pride in anything that other than useful knowledge and good deeds. So أفتخر, لن. Will never. So this لن here means will never. لن, will never. إن تجتهد, إن here means if. In, if. That's the meaning of in here. تجتهد, which means in the future. So something did not happen, it will happen, but you use the present tense here with this in. This will make sure that this means in the future. If in the future you work hard, you will be praised. تحمد. So this is just an idea about how the verb changes to indicate time in the Arabic language. Thank you for listening. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.